So I'll assume this isn't the first time you've come across something of this nature on the web, and probably when in excitement you decided to dive real deep, then you got hurt. Yeah, I know that feeling. Hearing your once much loved car could be coming back is sensitive enough, so I'm not here to assure you that this car will come, but rather, the purpose of this video is to help you see just how right you could be in waiting for this car if Chevy really decides to bring it back. So let's get right into it. Really, the question doesn't really get old. I mean, nowadays people want their cars fast with more power and torque, tow more and drive to rank above the decent range and much more. And yet here, we had the El Camino SS come with all those. That, my friend, is what a car is supposed to look like. So hence the drool on the possibility by car enthusiasts on the possible return of this classic, iconic legend of a car. But when the Chevy El Camino does come, what really could it offer? I mean, do you even think it might make a difference? Don't dwell too much on it because we'll see the answers to that in record time. Here are a few things to consider. Interior. Though there is really no direct or confirmed and official info concerning this, and it might be difficult even taking a guess since the last El Camino existed 40 years ago, and subsequently its interior aspects and features by today's standards will be rendered totally totaled. Hey, anyway, even with this, it doesn't take too long an exercise to tap into the inner mind as we venture across the idea of coming up with something that could even be close to what the car might feature inside when it actually comes, if it actually comes, that is. So first of all, one reasonable line of thinking is that imagine right now, if the El Camino shows up and needs to get a remake of its interior, obviously it'll need the benchmark of another car similar to it. So, which car comes to mind? I'll let you think. You have 10 seconds. So whatever you thought of right now, comment that in the comments box below. But for the sake of this video, let's move on. The most likely candidate for this assignment would be one of the El Camino's very popular cousins, and in this case, the Chevrolet Silverado. And as most of us may know, this would mean the incorporation of leathery accents, which is ultimately as luxurious as these things get. Another bonus is the spacious cabin which is found on the Silverado, which also happens to feature cab options from 2-seaters to standard cab, and it only gets better. So because this acts as the benchmark, expect the El Camino to boast a reassuringly generous amount of legroom that should only create the perfect conditions together with the right ambience for a Chevrolet Palace vibe. Soft life. So basically, the Chevy car should have no problem seating 5 people. Now, there's not gonna be any of that cheap plastic on this here car. Instead, you should only be feeling first-class energy around you, which means exactly what it means, first class. As for the other areas, there's the dashboard, which we think should find the right balance between digital and analog, while also featuring a central infotainment system. The touchscreen, on the other hand, could prove tricky as we can't really place it at this time. Whether or not it houses other basic controls like air conditioning will remain to be seen. However, anticipate a high-quality surround sound system and strong connection along with a basic Bluetooth connection. And of course, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are essential features. We can only hope that Chevy will make investments in driver safety, as it did with the Silverado. This, by the way, refers to driver assistance software that can help you avoid obstacles and alert you to potential hazards while driving. Ideally, you will have access to the same camera system as the Silverado, which will allow you to park in tight spaces and navigate through small pathways, which is a really sweet and handy feature considering parking lots seem to get smaller and smaller these days with too much cars. That's basically what you're signing up for in the interior, but as part of your decor, why don't you smash that subscribe button and see what I mean? I worked really hard on bringing you guys this video. Do me that favor, please. Thank you for doing that. So now, exterior. Now, we all know the popularity of the El Camino stemmed from its looks in the first place. So maintaining top-tier design in this category is key, as this would place the car in perfect spots to appeal to a much wider buyer's audience. But the whole point of the car gaining attention was because it possessed this classic retro look that made it peculiar and identifiable from a mile away. So definitely, if Chevy is to bring some bit of modernity to this car, it shouldn't be at the expense of most of its iconic design characteristics. In fact, there is a way Chevy could perfect this blend without any problems. Introducing more angles and deleting the less than appealing blocky build could do the trick. And again, if this happens, the Silverado could remain the benchmark. Hopefully, the large, broad front grille is composed of chrome. This increases power to weight ratio and fuel efficiency while also also adding style and reducing weight. We doubt the El Camino will have enormous wheels since, well, we're not looking for a gigantic pickup truck, and I doubt anyone will at this point. Now, a bonus that could emerge as well could be the offering of an SS version of the car. This obviously would add a bit of sophistication to folks who want something for cargo but with style. Plus, customizations will be allowed for buyers, which means you could get to choose how your El Camino looks. Crazy, right? And even more so because not all manufacturers these days allow for that luxury. However, we may still expect for lightweight and durable aluminum alloy wheels. New headlight and taillight designs could add to better the design as well, since most people have gone past circular lights and their outdated appearance, and for the few who haven't, maybe Chevy could provide some customizable features along the way, who knows? Additionally, improved visibility and safety would result from the reconfiguration of the lights, as usually modern solutions are needed for modern issues. These could all add up the overall aesthetic prowess of this car, and well, put it way in good roads for being sensational. But that could never quite do the trick alone, could it? Which moves us to the biggest score, and sadly also the hardest to predict: engine options. In this segment, it is pretty much obvious that Chevy has a lot of engine options, so definitely one could have his pick. But for the purpose of this video, let's do a little digging. So we are going to use the elimination process to come up with the closest option the El Camino will most likely end up featuring. So to kickstart things, we already know that the car will not be what anyone would term giant of a pickup. So that rules out all the big name engines with an absolute beastly offering of power. So in this case, V6 engines or smaller 4 cylinders would do the trick. Specifically, a 2.0 turbocharged engine with 250 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. But if we're hovering onto the V6, the smallest would be the 3.6-liter engine, which boasts 300 horsepower, and in this case would end up delivering more than might actually be needed for the vehicle. That being said, hybrid and all-electric variants are also a possible area to consider. Auto manufacturers around the globe are really leaning to this much tech-incorporated and not much less weaker option that we wouldn't rule that entirely out for the comeback on the El Camino. However, you could end up spending more than intended at first, though in the long run, you'll probably save as much too, and as well contribute to the curb on climate crisis globally. But really, all this will probably be determined by how much you should expect to part with to take this ride home when it comes, which moves us to the pricing. Expect around $30,000 for the base trim and $10,000 more for the SS version. Of course, customizing to your taste could hike up these numbers a bit, but really, that's just one more thing that makes this vehicle a top leader in the sensational ladder.